Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Topping our newscast, the government employees' retirement system gave an update on Tuesday on the agency's financial situation. Administrator Austin Nibbs led the presentation that highlighted a rise in unfunded liability and an investment portfolio that's doing well. The administrator also stressed the significant impact of a huge chunk of money owed by the central government. News 2's April Knight has more.
The GRS unfunded liability stands at $3.1 billion. That's according to GRS Administrator Austin Nibbs in a rare press conference on Tuesday. According to the administrator, the GRS wants to clear the air on misperceptions about the embattled agency. The unfunded liability, he said, which only 2 years ago stood at $1.9 billion, ballooned dramatically because of a change in reporting mechanism that somewhat distorted the numbers.
Because of GASB 68. And what GASB 68 does, it discounts the rate. Our expected rate of return was 8%, now it's 7.5%. So it's something that is universal, it's not just GRS, so we have to follow the GASB 68.
The GRS has gotten a lot of flack on its investment choices, both from the public and government officials themselves. But according to Administrator Nibbs, not only have their investments yielded positive returns most of the time, the central government, that's the plan sponsor, has had a significant hand in the system's financial difficulties. According to Nibbs, as of April 3rd, the value of their traditional assets and investments stood at $919 million. Out of the past 22 years, he said the agency has had positive returns on its investments for 16 years. The remaining 6 years of negative returns included the Great Recession of 2008. In addition, the central government owes the agency money that's been increasing over the years.
For the past 25 years, the plan sponsor, which is the central government and the instrumentalities, have underfunded, meaning that the actual contributions were $1.3 billion short. That's very significant. That's more than what our assets are right now.
Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
We will have more on the GERS press conference in a later newscast. Well, today was a historic event for the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority. For the first time, propane was introduced as a primary fuel source to Unit 20 in WAPA's synchro facility. According to WAPA's spokesman, John Grillo, the barricades and roadblocks put in place as security measures around the area will remain in place until tomorrow, Wednesday. The commissioning process is so far successful, although it is still in its initial stages. According to WAPA, the process is expected to take anywhere between 7 and 10 days. Meanwhile, the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority has scheduled an electrical service interruption for a small section of St. Thomas, Feeder 6A, on Thursday, April 7th. Approximately 41 customers in the Content area will experience service interruption from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. while crews work in the roadway leading to Content Knolls to transfer primary lines, a street light, and a transformer to a new pole. While the work is in progress, motorists are advised to use extreme caution and to observe traffic directions in the area for the safety of the crews and the public. Every effort, they say, will be made to restore service as quickly as possible. Many hotel owners, hospitality workers, pesticide applicators, business operators, and the general public learned how to address pests with fewer or less toxic chemicals, as well as an approach called integrated pest management. During this one-day conference at the University of Virgin Islands on St. Croix, it was co-sponsored by EPA and DPNR. Attendees learned from experts how to reduce the use of pesticides and how to use sustainable solutions for pest control and the health issues associated with applying pesticides. Here's more.
Bring everybody up to speed on why we have pests, why they have come in or what they're feeding on, and whether or not there are building problems. If everybody is aware of the reasons that pests exist inside a building, it makes it much easier to get rid of them because we solve problems that attract pests.
And we will have more on a later newscast. Also, they discussed the Zika virus. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, the Health Department released its weekly Zika surveillance report. As of Tuesday, there has been one additional case of Zika confirmed in the territory, bringing the total up to 13. Now, the department continues to test pregnant women for the virus for free. Although no cases of Zika have been confirmed in pregnant women in the territory, 4 pregnant women tested positive for dengue. The Department of Health cautions pregnant women against taking aspirin just in case they do have dengue, as the drug can cause hemorrhaging. Governor Kenneth Mapp, along with VI Police Commissioner Delroy Richards, also called a press conference on Tuesday, updating the territory on some of the government's efforts to fight crime. The governor also had some bad news that he said he felt he needed to be upfront about. NEWS2's April Knight has the story.
Governor Mapp gave the territory some harsh realities on Tuesday. The Virgin Islands, he said, should see a rise in violent crime before the problem shows signs of slowing down.
More violence, and there are going to be more homicides and more shootings before we arrest this problem.
The governor made clear that that doesn't mean the government isn't doing anything in the meantime, but there's much that needs to be done before violent crime can be stymied.
We have to catch up with the lack of officers on the streets, the lack of law enforcement personnel. We have to catch up because we've done very little in the past, modernizing our department and resourcing, giving equipment and tools to our law enforcement personnel.
Governor Mapp also announced that 8 VIPD officers will be headed to the New York Police Academy to get highly advanced training that they can take back home.
I believe at the age where we are now involved in terrorism, New York Police Department provides advanced training to their officers in recognizing and combating terrorism. Those officers that we have selected will be a part of that also.
In September, the VIPD will be launching a new program in VI high schools, the Police Cadet Corps. Future police officers will be selected from 10th graders who will get an annual stipend for working in the summer and then get the first 2 years of college free.
Those cadets, we will provide their first 2 years of education at the University of the Virgin Islands. Tuition, we will pay the tuition in the police science and criminal justice field, of course, as a condition that they would give the Virgin Islands Police Department at least 5 years of service once they attain the age and complete their studies at the University of the Virgin Islands.
Reporting for NEWS2, I'm April Knight.
Governor Mapp also shared that some 29 officers are currently embedded in various federal task force teams operating in the territory. We'll have our crime reports later coming up in the show. It's primary day in Wisconsin, and all of the remaining presidential candidates are hoping for a good day. On the Republican side, Senator Ted Cruz leads Donald Trump in the latest polls. And among the Democratic candidates, Senator Bernie Sanders says if there's a good turnout, he'll be the winner tonight. Dan Gallagher previews today's big election.
Wisconsin voters deciding which candidates come out on top Tuesday. Republicans have 42 delegates up for grabs. Donald Trump, coming off what many consider the worst week of his campaign, is polling behind Ted Cruz in the state and fighting to prove that none of that really matters.
We could have a big surprise tonight, folks. Big surprise.
Cruz, however, needs a win tonight with less friendly primary states ahead.
It's a big part of the reason why so many Republicans here in Wisconsin and across the country are unifying behind our campaign.
Now, the one thing that Cruz and Trump do agree on, it's time for John Kasich to call it quits.
He ought to get the hell out, honestly.
The choice will be between me and Donald Trump.
Now, Kasich, who is not expected to win Wisconsin, says this is all going to be decided on the convention floor anyway.
Well, I'm not getting out. Why would I get out?
And now it's not just the Republicans counting on the convention. Bernie Sanders' campaign manager is now claiming that the senator, who is polling ahead here in Wisconsin, will take it all the way to Philadelphia.
It is very, very, very unlikely that either candidate, either Secretary Clinton or Senator Sanders, will go into the convention with a majority needed of pledged delegates in order to win.
The Clinton camp doesn't seem too worried.
There's not going to be any doubt, unlike on the Republican side, who the nominee is, going well ahead of the convention on our side.
Despite 86 delegates being up for grabs here in Wisconsin, Hillary Clinton's campaign seems to be focusing on New York instead. The delegate-rich state votes later this month. In Washington, I'm Diane Gallagher.
And keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the stock market watch at the New York Stock Exchange. According to the numbers there, we can see everything down. The Dow 133, NASDAQ 47, S&P 500 also down 20. Coming up on News 2, we have more news from the delegate from a press conference held on Monday. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As we reported on Monday, Delegate to Congress Stacey Plaskett called a press conference centered on a forthcoming bill in Congress that could save Puerto Rico from fiscal collapse, but could also create a federal oversight that could negatively affect the VI. Here's more from Delegate Plaskett on why an oversight board on federal monies received by territories can be an overreach.
I think that when any money comes to the territories, it imposes certain regulations, and there are parameters for compliance as well as technical support. It is the understanding and the agreement even of the governor of Puerto Rico that there has been mismanagement in the past. And Puerto Rico has put in steps to ensure that that mass mismanagement doesn't take place. But to have this far-reaching effect where Puerto Rico cannot even put in place its own fiscal plan for how it should recover. This would be a plan that the federal government puts in place and can veto and negate any plan that Puerto Rico has for itself.
The Democratic Party Synchro District Committee is postponing the community town hall meeting. The listening session, which was originally scheduled for tomorrow, Wednesday, April 6th. A new date will be announced within the next few days. Now, the general membership meeting will be held on Saturday, April 9th at 10 a.m. All Democrats and friends are invited to attend that general membership meeting, and that's at 10 a.m. at Gertrude's Restaurant, which is in Castle Coakley, Christiansted. The St. Croix Board of Elections will be present to conduct voter registration and voting machine demonstrations. Original documents required to register: birth certificate, U.S. passport or military DD-214 or naturalization certificate. Turn our attention to crime reports. At approximately 10:26 p.m. on the evening of Monday, April 4th, officers responded to a man shot in the vicinity of Sanchez Town, located in Bavoni. Officers converged on the scene and located the body of an unresponsive black male who'd sustained a single gunshot wound on the floor of the Green Bar. The emergency medical technicians on the scene stated that the male victim showed no vital signs of life. The victim was later identified by his next of kin as 35-year-old Calvin Garvey. Anyone with information concerning this homicide, you may contact the Major Crimes Unit at 340-714-9823, 911, or the anonymous tips service Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-8477. According to a plea agreement, Bawan Dudu stated that she aided and abetted an adult male to transport her minor daughter for the purpose of sexual activity. Bawan Dudu faces a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years in prison and a maximum sentence of life in prison. She also faces a fine of up to $250,000. Ricardo Mayoral, who is the acting special agent in charge of Homeland Security Investigations, San Juan and USVI, is encouraging anyone with information about this type of activity to call law enforcement. Suspected child exploitation or missing children cases may be reported to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children via its toll-free 24-hour hotline. The number's right there, 202-514-5678, or Homeland Security Investigations at 340-693-2250. The last CAPA meeting, held on April 4th at Frenchtown Evangelistic Church, was a huge success. 15 people were in attendance, but the concerns were huge. They were brought forth in the meeting. It included some excessive noise from parked and moving vehicle, gunshots, murders, dogfighting, vagrancy. These were all addressed. Trash on the streets, interim solutions needed for the bridge time between local bins and collection sites, and the lack of enforcement, they say, for civil crimes such as marijuana use and littering for laws already in the code, the ability for a commercial business to exist and thrive in a residential neighborhood. Now, the follow-up meeting will be held on Monday, April 11th at 6 p.m. at the same location, the Frenchtown Evangelistic Church. Public Services Commission informs the public of a temporary schedule adjustment for the St. Thomas-St. John ferry services, and that was as of yesterday, Monday, April 4th. The temporary schedule affects the evening departures from Red Hook, St. Thomas to Cruise Bay, St. John, and possibly the St. John to Red Hook ferry schedules. The departures from the Red Hook ferry terminal will be 8:30 p.m., 9:30 p.m., 10:30 p.m., and 12 a.m. The PSC will keep us updated, and we'll share with you when more information becomes available. The public address system at the Cyril E. King Airport on St. Thomas, they say, is due for some upgrades. FIPA's Executive Director Carlton Dow said the existing system was installed when the terminal was built in 1990 and is failing in some areas. The aged system will be replaced to include the installations of new conduits, wiring, and speakers. The new system will extend to the terminals, commuter counters, air carrier counters, commuter gates, commuter baggage claim, and much more. Viper hired Bonneville, the contractor, to complete the $1.1 million project, which is funded via passengers' facility charges collected by the authority. The project, they say, should be completed by September 2016. Passenger flow through the terminal should not be interrupted. Well, big congratulations to Cameron Bunn, Enzo Newhart, Avinash Nakpal, Shivak Chawla, Dylan Luce, Jonathan Woods, and Grace Randall, and Coach Alan Eberhardt for their impressive Quiz Bowl victory yesterday over Good Hope Country Day School. After 2 days of competition, Antilles won the final round with a score of 285 over Good Hope Country Day's 145. The Antilles team began practicing for that competition since October and did the work during lunchtime breaks. A summer program offered to U.S. Virgin Islands high school residents, which runs from June 19th to July 8, 2016 at the UVI St. Thomas campus, is coming up. EBI is a summer program offered to USVI high school residents, which runs from June 19th to the 8th at the UVI St. Thomas campus. It's an opportunity for selected participants to experience campus life while acquiring important entrepreneurial, leadership, and business skills. Here's more from Karen Hughes.
College experience and reside on the UVI campus for 3 weeks, all expenses paid, engage with entrepreneurs, business leaders, and business owners about how they got from point A to point B, the challenges, the pitfalls, the good and the bad, and at the end of the program they come out with all of the skills and knowledge that they would need to know to begin and start their very own business. What better way to spend your summer, and what better way to move on with your life than to really have the strong leadership and business acumen that EBI offers.
And you can call International Capital Management Agency. Karen is the Director of Community Relations. The number is 340-777-1302. The Virgin Islands Economic Development Commission is hosting the 2016 Community Education Initiative for VI high school students. The initiative, which began with a presentation at Ivana Udorakan High School, aims to educate the students on economic development, encourage them to be more entrepreneurial, and to consider careers within the territory. The initiative featured presentations by the Economic Development Bank, which focuses on small and medium-sized businesses, and the Enterprise Zone Commission, which focuses on revitalizing blighted and distressed areas of the community. Be sure to stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.